I'm Ian Dilly.
And I am Michael Sheehan. Today we are going to recap what has been a pretty darn exciting Vuelta a España thus far. We're just about halfway through, and then we are going to look ahead to a pretty wacky wild race that we have on FloBikes this coming weekend.
The Antwerp Port Epic. It is going to be an exciting mixed terrain race featuring some of the top professionals in the sport. But the Vuelta first. Let's start with stage 7, the finish on Mas de la Costa. This was the first true, in my opinion, summit finish of the Vuelta. A brutal climb, only 4 kilometers in length, but a 12% average gradient. And we saw on this climb really not a true GC battle. Alejandro Valverde won, Primoz Roglic was second, Sepp Kuss had an amazing ride, the young American, but the time lapse between the GC favorites remained pretty small. This whole week we've sort of been seeing the red jersey a bit of game of hot potato. It's been with Quintana, it's been with Lopez, Nicolas Day took it, Nicolas Roche had it, but stage 9, things really turned on their head, and then stage 10, the individual time trial, we've got a real GC battle on our hands. Let's get into stage 9.
Yeah, stage 9 was the day that I had been looking forward to in the mountains of Andorra. It was a really short 95-kilometer long race with 5 categorized climbs, and they were all pretty massive. The finishing 20 kilometers of the race was just epic. A hailstorm blew in. Unfortunately, cameras lost pictures, so we didn't get to see this gravel that came with about 10 kilometers to go in the race, but when we got our pictures back, Miguel Angel Lopez was bloodied, riders were all over the road. It was a pretty decisive day.
Yeah, it was, the race was really heating up as we headed into this 4-kilometer long gravel section. Miguel Angel Lopez was leading the group of favorites, Primoz Roglic, Alejandro Valverde, Nairo Quintana, and Tadej Pogačar. By almost a minute and a half, it looked like he was riding away with the Vuelta on stage 9. But yeah, they headed into the gravel, the gnarly hail came in, and apparently Lopez got tangled up with EF Sergio Higuita on the gravel section, ended up going down, and Primoz Roglic actually ran into a race motorcycle and fell off his bike as well. When we got the pictures back, Roglic was chasing all by himself, Lopez was no longer off the front, and Nairo Quintana was leading the race with Pogačar, and Pogačar really rode away with this race. I mean, I think we have been incredibly impressed by this young Slovenian, only 20 years old, riding his first Grand Tour.
Yeah, all year, I have to give you credit where credit's due. You have been talking about Tadej Pogačar. He has been phenomenal, and this Vuelta, it's just another level what we're seeing from this 20-year-old Slovenian kid. He won stage 9, which is one of the queen stages, if not the queen stage of this year's Vuelta, and he did so just by riding away from Nairo Quintana. That is huge. He is currently sitting 5th overall in GC, and he looks pretty darn solid in top 10 for his first Grand Tour ever. That's pretty incredible. I want to dive into the Movistar tactics that we saw on stage 9, though, because this is really leaving me with a lot of question marks for just who is going to actually win the Vuelta a España, because Movistar on paper, I think that they should win it. Between Nairo Quintana and Alejandro Valverde, they have a winner of this race, but they can't seem to get on the same page. At some point in stage 9, Marc Soler was leading the race. Quintana was chasing, trying to get away from all the other GC favorites, and Alejandro Valverde ended up going after Quintana, and it's just this disorganization. I think that the reaction of Marc Soler when the Movistar directors told him to sit up and wait for Quintana kind of shows this, the undertones of what's going on Movistar, where everybody only really seems to want to give 60% to their teammates, and they're still saving a little bit in the tank, hoping that they're going to be able to win on that day. And Marc Soler's reaction when he threw up his hands in disgust about having to wait for Quintana, I think just shows the dynamic on that team.
Yeah, I think if you look at the other favorited teams in this race, both Astana and Jumbo-Visma, everybody was sending climbers up the road early in this short, demanding stage in the Andorran mountains, and it worked out for them. When Miguel Angel Lopez was off the front, he had Luis Leon Sanchez pulling for him and helping him establish that time gap. When Miguel Angel Lopez was off the front, Sepp Kuss dropped back and was helping Primoz Roglic. chase down the riders ahead. But with Movistar, that was not the case. Soler was riding for the stage win and, not playing the team role. I think the mistake that Movistar made was they should have called him back a long time before, and he should have never been in that position to believe that he could win the stage with just 4 kilometers remaining. He should have been called back to help much longer before that. And let's get into stage 10, because this does play back to the Movistar tactics, because this individual time trial has really thrown the race on its head, and really, thank goodness, Primoz Roglic was able to assert himself as the best general classification rider in this race. He's been right there on all the climbs, and then he just smashed everybody in this time trial, caught his 2-minute man, Miguel Angel Lopez, right on the finish line. Put 3 minutes into Nairo Quintana and, 1:38 into Alejandro Valverde. Primoz Roglic now leads this race over Alejandro Valverde by 1 minute and 52 seconds, but all the top 5 favorites are all within 3 minutes of the lead, and we are heading into an extremely exciting final 2 weeks of this Vuelta a España, because everybody's going to have to go on the attack against Roglic.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Stage 10 was the stage for Roglic. He stomped it. He did what he had to do. He is the best time trialist in the race, and nobody really doubted that. But we have a lot of big mountains to come, and Roglic does not have anything to look forward to for the rest of the Vuelta a España. Stage 10 was his day, and he has to hold on to this 1 minute and 52 second lead ahead of Alejandro Valverde for dear life over the second half of this race. And this is where the question mark lies for me and Movistar, because between Valverde and Quintana, if they ride cohesively together and ride selflessly and just say the team has to win, it doesn't matter which one of them wins, they should be able to topple Roglic. The two of them are strong enough in the mountains that they should be able to tag team him until he gets tired. Roglic does not really have the team. He has a really, really, really good Sepp Kuss. I can't stress enough how well Sepp Kuss is riding, but losing Steven Kruijswijk at the start of this tour was a really, really big hit for Jumbo-Visma. So with that guy gone, I think that Roglic is just going to be very isolated in the coming mountains, and Movistar should capitalize on that if they play their cards intelligently.
Yeah, I think Movistar needs to go all in for Nairo Quintana in this race. Yes, he's 3 minutes back. He's over a minute behind his teammate Alejandro Valverde. But Quintana is a rider that has shown he can go on the attack and take massive amounts of times in the mountains. Valverde is a much more calculated rider. He usually follows the wheel and wins in the sprint. You usually see him attacking in the final kilometer, the final 500 meters of a mountain stage. He's not a rider known for going on big raids in the mountains. Let's also remember that Valverde was in reach of winning the Vuelta last year. He was only about 1.5 minutes behind Simon Yates going into the penultimate stage, the final mountain day of the 2008 Vuelta a España. He ended up losing over 3 minutes, totally cratering and falling off the podium. Nairo Quintana has shown that he's a solid force in this Vuelta. Yeah, he didn't have a great time trial, but Movistar really should be riding for him, and I think Valverde should be working for him. With Roglic, I think Roglic, the best defense, is offense. Roglic is a rider who's shown he's most confident, most comfortable when he is riding aggressively, when he is going on the attack, when he's trying to put other riders under pressure, and I think he needs to maintain that mentality. If he tries to ride defensively throughout the final 2 weeks of this race, it's just a big mental load to bear more than anything, and I think he's going to cook himself. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. And then, of course, we can't forget of Miguel Angel Lopez and the incredibly strong team that Astana has. We haven't seen much from Jakob Fuglsang yet, but he did show some signs of life in the Andorra stage. I think he will be a rider to be dealt with in the final 2 weeks of this race. Let's get into the races ahead. We have 3 more summit finishes coming up this week, including big summit finishes on Friday, Sunday, and Monday, as well as hilly days in the Basque Country.
Yeah, the middle of the week is hilly days in the Basque Country, kind of transition stages, but we all know what Basque Country riding is like. It is just lumpy, steep, hard, aggressive racing. If any of the GC riders happen to find themselves on a bad day in the Basque Country, they're going to lose time. It may not be huge chunks of time like a summit finish, but they're dangerous riders as they make their way to this Friday mountain stage. And we need to dive into Friday because it is a big, big day. Finishing on the Monumento Vaca Pasieja, which is the cow mountain pass, essentially. I think that's a pretty close translation. And it is 6.8 kilometers long at over 9% in gradient. There are some over 20% gradient stretches peppered in throughout this climb. It is just massive.
Yeah, in 2017, we saw Alberto Contador really giving it to Chris Froome and Team Sky on this stage. It is going to be an exciting finale. And then a similar finish on Sunday, an incredibly steep climb. It is the Santuario del Acebo, 7.5 kilometers long at an over 10% gradient. This is a brand new climb for the Vuelta, so riders really don't know what to expect. And then Monday is a more traditional mountain stage, longer climbs, and a finishing climb that's 18 kilometers long at a 6% average gradient. I think that's a climb that could potentially play to Primoz Roglic. It's going to be interesting to see how things play out before the final rest day.
Yeah, and in between these, the Friday and Sunday mountain stages, there is a sprint day on Saturday. They're just stringing along the poor sprinters in this tour. I personally forgot that there are any sprinters left, but there are a few sprint stages that they have to get to in the third week. So we're going to see if they have any legs left on Saturday. Whatever the case, the first half of this Vuelta has just been phenomenal. I feel like we have seen all the action of the second half of a Grand Tour already packed into the first half of this Vuelta. The second half is shaping up to be just as exciting. We have more races for you on Flow, though, and let's get into Antwerp Port Epic.
Yeah, of course, watch the Vuelta España live and on demand on FloBikes in Canada. Antwerp Port Epic will be available to viewers in the US and Canada. And this is a really cool race. I mean, it is gravel roads, farm tracks, cobblestones. There's one section where they just race across like a grassy mowed field. Wout van Aert actually competed in this race last year. He was 7th place. This year we have a World Tour team, Mitchelton Scott lining up, as well as Nicky Terpstra, of course, the former winner of Paris-Roubaix and the Tour of Flanders.
Yeah, and just to put this race into perspective, there are 48 unpaved sectors, whether it's gravel, cobblestones, grass, you name it, across 187 kilometers of racing. Compare that to Paris-Roubaix, which is nearly 260 kilometers. That only has 29 sectors of cobblestones. This race is bonkers. There is just so much action, so much chaos packed into a really, really short package. It is going to be really fun to watch.
And of course, we also will have the Corendon Circus team featuring the Belgian national champion Tim Merlier and a number of other cyclocross stars, including David van der Poel, Gianni Vermeersch, and maybe Matthew van der Poel.
There are rumors that Matthew van der Poel may make an appearance. It seems like a pretty good entry into cyclocross season. You get some distance and off-roading.
Yeah, and meanwhile, cyclocross is starting this weekend. We have the first race in the Athias Cross Series, formerly the Brico Cross Series. This race will be in Eeklo and is featuring all of the major cyclocross stars. Toon Ertz, Laura, Ellen Van Looy, Eli Iserbyt, Dan Sote, Jens Adams. It'll be a cool kickoff to the cyclocross season.
Yeah, really, really good turnout for the first European cyclocross race of the year. That is also on FloBikes, so please tune in this weekend, catch all the action, and of course the Vuelta España.